I think he's just trying to tell me that I need to get my personal finance stuff in order. So we live in a capitalist society. Plot twist, they're cats. Yeah, it's just me actually. Hey friends, it's Sarah, and this year I am once again doing the 12 Friends Recommend Me 12 Books to Read Over 12 Months challenge. So last year I did this challenge and I have a whole video talking about how that went for me. Spoilers, obviously it went well enough that I am doing it again this year, but if you want to check out that full video, I will have it linked up top and in the description. So I really enjoyed doing it last year. I think it is an excellent way to expand your reading horizons, read outside your comfort zone, and you are also guaranteed to have someone to discuss the book with because all these books should be ones that your friends have already read. So I would highly recommend doing this. Even if you don't want to read 12 books over the course of the year, even if you only want to read like one or two or only have like a couple friends recommend it, I think it's so fun to ask your friends for recommendations and then have someone to discuss it with. And just, you never know what they're going to say. They might be like, here's this book, you know, like that is exactly my taste, perfect. Like I had some friends who recommended me books and I was like, yeah, I read all those books and they were all amazing. You know exactly my taste. But then you might have friends who recommend you something completely different that you end up loving, which ended up happening for me last year. So I just think it's super fun. It's a great way to connect with friends. It's a great way to try some new books. Let me know if you're going to do this challenge as well, or if you're doing like a modified version of it. Also, I did not come up with this challenge. This was from someone on Instagram. I'll find out who the source was and post their handle down below and probably put a little picture up here. They had like a fun little graphic. So I'll find that and put it in here. So last year, because of someone, Armand, I ended up having some like rules for the recommendations they could give me. So they have to have read the book and they have to have either enjoyed the book or think that I would enjoy it. Stuff that I kind of thought was like unspoken in the rules, but apparently not. So I made that very clear that these books had to be one that they read and that they enjoyed or thought I would like. So with those in mind, I have another set of 12 books that I have been recommended to read throughout this year. First off, I actually got a recommendation from my brother. He's not a big reader, but he did think that I should read The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This is a nice tiny little classic, apparently about a fisherman and the fish that he catches and then loses. It won him the Nobel Prize for Literature, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's short enough that even if I don't love it, I can probably at least suffer through it fairly quickly. Unlike The Rest is Noise. Permanently salty about that one. Okay, up next, my boyfriend recommended that I read The Wealthy Barber Returns by David Chilton. I think he's just trying to tell me that I need to get my personal finance stuff in order. But yeah, this is like a personal finance book. It's kind of a classic. He did write The Wealthy Barber back in, I don't know when, the 70s or something, so this is like an updated version. I asked my boyfriend why he recommended it, and he said that he really enjoyed it and that he thought it is a book that everyone should read kind of like in high school as like an intro into personal finance and how to set yourself up for retirement and all that. I have been doing a little bit of more personal finance stuff recently, also encouraged by my boyfriend, so I think maybe this will give me a better understanding of what exactly it is I'm doing with my money, because we live in a capitalist society. Up next, I have a book that was actually gifted to me by my lovely friend Emma, and this is, I haven't spoken French in so long, Les 10 enfants que Madame Ming n'a jamais eu by Éric-Emmanuel Schmitt. This is a French book, but it is under 100 pages, and like French books, margins are crazy. They're so big. So I think this one, again, I haven't read in French for a while. I did take French immersion all through kindergarten, all the way through grade 12 and into university. So hopefully I can make it through this okay. I have read other books by the same author and really enjoyed them. And in her little note, my friend said that this is one of her favorite books from one of her favorite authors and a quick snack read. So I'm excited to work on my French again. This feels a little bit like a New Year's resolution maybe of like, get my French back up to stuff. So this follows the narrator who runs into Madame Ming in China, where she says that she has 10 children, and he's like, how is this possible when there's like the one-child law? And then it turns out that maybe she is actually kind of like making up these children, and these are kind of like the kids that she could have had. So I don't know, we'll see. Plot twist, they're cats. Yeah, it's just me actually. Next up, my friend Nathaniel recommended that I read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries series. This is a science fiction book about, I don't know, there's a lot going on in the description, but it seems to be about like a society where they have like robots, and there's like one section of robots who have gained sentience and they call themselves like the Murderbots. So I think there maybe is like a little bit of rebellion going on. I'm not sure, but it sounds kind of interesting, and it is nice seeing like a sci-fi book written by women, because I think I've only read like Becky Chambers as like a science fiction author who is a woman. So I'm excited to see how this goes. Hopefully it goes well. Next up, my friend Brad recommended that I read House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Brad did say that he's not quite finished this one yet. He's about halfway through, but I'm like, at least you've read some of it, so that's fine, I'll count it. But this is about a family who like moves into a new home, and they discover that it's bigger on the inside, kind of like the TARDIS from Doctor Who, except with like a really horror twist, and like the children go missing and there starts to be like voices and stuff. It's also like really odd inside the book, like there's like weird formatting things, and like they play with the text in interesting ways. So I'm kind of intrigued by this. I think it's kind of like a horror, but my friend said that he never read anything else like this, and he found a description that he really enjoyed, which convinced him to pick it up, so I'll read it to you now. It says, while some have attempted to describe the book as a horror story, many readers, as well as the author, define the book as a love story. Danielewski expands on this point in an interview. I had one woman come up to me in a bookstore and say, you know, everyone told me it was a horror book, but when I finished it, I realized that it was a love story. And she's absolutely right. In some ways, genre is a marketing tool. House of Leaves has also been described as a satire of academic criticism. So I'm really interested in this because previously Brad had recommended me I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, which is also a horror with like a weird plot twist. And that was really good and spooky, so I'm kind of interested to see how this one goes. I'm hoping it's not too scary because I am a baby, but I do think this will expand my reading horizons and definitely be a bit out of my comfort zone. The sixth book that has been recommended to me is from my friend Anna, and this is Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe. This is the true story of the Sackler family, who are like one of the richest families in the world and are responsible for making and marketing OxyContin, which was like the start of the opioid crisis. So I think this seems very interesting, very timely. I feel like there's been a lot of discussion around kind of like Nepo babies and stuff recently, and I feel like this is kind of almost an exaggeration of that, of like generational wealth and the harm that like one giant rich family can do. So I don't know, I'm very interested. I don't think I ever would have picked this up because I, first of all, didn't know who the Sackler family was. But yeah, it just also, I thought this was, when I first saw it, I thought it was a philosophy book. So never would have looked at it. Okay, so then my friend Amelia recommended that I read The Happiness Advantage by Shaun Achor. This is also a nonfiction book. It's kind of like a business self-help book that talks about 7 principles of positive psychology and how you can use them to succeed at work or in business. And I'm not usually like a huge fan of like self-help books, so I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but I do like that it's about being happy, because we all want that at work and in our lives in general. Then my friend Jenny recommended Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. This is a adult fiction book about a like 20-something lesbian who's kind of like obsessed with death and can't stop thinking about it. And then she accidentally ends up being hired as like a receptionist for a Catholic church and ends up like assuming the previous receptionist's identity in some of her correspondence, even though like because the previous receptionist had died. And it just seems like it's going to be a lot of like, maybe not quite cringy moments, but like, oh my god, why did you make that decision? What is happening? Why would you do this? Sort of stuff. So I'm very intrigued by this one. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the tone is, but it seems like it'd be maybe kind of like dry humor. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. Also, those previous 3 friends, so Anna, Amelia, and Jenny, had all given me like 2 to 4 recommendations of books. So those ones could change potentially depending on if I'm feeling like picking them up or if I like grab them off somewhere else. So those 3 are a little bit in flux. Okay, up next, my friend Luam recommended How to Pronounce Knife by Souvankham Thammavongsa. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong. But this is a short story collection about lives of various like Laos immigrants. And it's just kind of like little snippets from like their daily life. It's supposed to be, I think, pretty like, I don't want to say like mundane, but like kind of just like a snapshot of like their life and like the struggles of being an immigrant and like integrating with like a different culture. I've heard lots of good things about this. It was like a runner-up or winner of several different prizes, so very intrigued. Okay, then my friend Jessie recommended The Immortal Soul Salvage Yard by Beth May, which is a collection of poetry that is comprised of like physical objects from her life. So it's kind of like a scrapbook poetry collection, and there's like emails and book reports and like emails to professors and all sorts of stuff making up these poems. And my friend said that he really enjoyed kind of like the realism of these poems, and that was why he recommended them. All right, the penultimate recommendation was from my friend Iliana, and that was for Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I did read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn last year for this challenge as a recommendation, actually from a different friend, but I really enjoyed that, so I'm really intrigued by this one. I have not seen the TV show for Sharp Objects, so I won't be like spoiled the way I was for Gone Girl, so we'll see how that goes. But it's a like kind of like a thriller-ish mystery story about a reporter who has just gotten out of a psych ward and has become obsessed with solving the death of a preteen girl and then the disappearance of another. And my friend said that it's thriller-ish but not spooky like her recommendation from last year. And there's lots of psychological stuff that was really interesting. I'm kind of intrigued by this one. I think it should be, yeah, like not too scary, but like really gripping. My last recommendation was actually from my mother. It was for any book by Lisa C. And she had actually purchased The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane for me previously. So I think this is going to be the one that I'm going to read from Lisa C. It's a historical fiction book that follows a young woman who lives in a like little small mountain village and works on a traditional tea farm, and she ends up kind of leaving that and joining the more like modern society, and then also follows her daughter who she ends up giving up for adoption. And yeah, I don't know, it'll be interesting. So I don't know, I've never read any of her stuff, but my mom really likes her writing style, and like it is nice to have historical fiction that isn't World War II again, so many of them are, so I'm really intrigued by that one. All right, so those are the 12 books that I have to read over the course of the year as recommended by my friends. I have learned from last year to read the ones that I am least interested in first to get them out of the way, so I'm not stuck at the end of the year reading on New Year's Eve. And I have no idea which one I will like the most. There's no romance recommendations this year, so my friends have obviously learned that I am very picky the way that I learned that, and they've steered away from that, which is totally fair. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We've got, again, a good like wide range of genres, some stuff that I like normally wouldn't read, like personal finance or self-help or kind of like more scary stuff. Let me know which one you think I will enjoy the most. If you've read any of these, or even just like based on stuff you've seen in my other videos, which one do you think will be the standout book of the year? Which friend will get the coveted cup of good recommendations? Yeah, let me know which one you think that I will enjoy the most, and check back in like a year-ish and we'll see who's right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Now go read a book. Unlike The Rest is Noise. Permanently salty about that one.